You know, they say you can't fire the team, so you have to fire the coach. That happened with the Rangers yesterday after an 8-1 victory. We talk about who replaces Donnie Ecker and where the Rangers go from here next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. Yeah, so big news after the Rangers game yesterday as Leody Taveras was given his outright release, and Donnie Ecker, the offensive coordinator for the Rangers, was relieved of his services, fired from the job he'd been doing since 2021. Hi there. Welcome into the DLLS Sports Studios. Welcome to the Rangers DLLS podcast. John Radigan here, Jeff Wilson there. We've got Elijah Smith, the prophet, over there, and we've got you. We appreciate you. As Jeff exhorted in the social media realm, feel free to chat and super chat with us today because we've got a lot to talk about. The Rangers actually had another one of those breakout type games offensively yesterday, Jeff, but in the wake of a long stretch, really a 2-year stretch of offense underperforming. And on Friday, what Bruce Bochy thought was arguably the worst offensive game they've had in this whole stretch.
Yeah,
it was that Sunday game was not enough to save Donnie Ecker.
True. Everything you say is true. The move isn't surprising. The timing of it, basically he got a month. And I think the last homestand opened with. The Rangers coming off a terrible series in which they scored at San Francisco 2 runs in each of the 3 games, and it felt like, all right, maybe this is it. If they turn it around on the homestand, then maybe it buys Donnie Ecker some more time. But then they went out in the 5 games they lost on the homestand, the 7-game homestand. They scored 4 runs.
Jeez.
And that's just not going to get it done. They were a swing away from getting shut out in consecutive games until Josh Smith hit that home run on Friday night. So, it's not surprising, disappointing. You never want to see anybody get fired. I really, really, really like Donnie. He's a good person, a good guy. Talks about hitting on a different level. And maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know, but it's kind of crazy. This team led the American League in runs scored in 23. They won the World Series. They had an okay April last year. Adolis Garcia was terrific in April of 24, and then it just went south. And Donnie was serving as the offense coordinator / bench coach. He was relieved of the bench coach duties, told to focus just on the offense. And maybe that was the first sign, that he needed to get things in gear. I didn't think they had a great spring offensively. But then you kind of saw some guys picking it up, and you're like, all right, well, that's just spring training. And then it just bled into this season. I mean, if you want to wonder why Donnie Ecker is no longer the Rangers' offensive coordinator, Jock Peterson's a big reason. Adolis Garcia is a big reason. Marcus Semion's a big reason. Those last Jake Berger, but those last 2 having returned from last season when they struggled, and they're critical pieces. I mean, talking about your leadoff hitter and your cleanup hitter, and they're not there anymore. But whatever tricks they have tried to do with the lineup, moving them around, just not working. And at some point, it's like you said off the top, you can't fire the whole team. These players have to be able to figure things out too. The hitting coach can't go up there and hit for them. And so now it's to the point where, son of a gun, something's not working. You can't get rid of the whole team, especially Simeon, who's still owed about $100 million.
Right.
I think Adolis is making $9.25 this year. So Donnie Ecker got whacked.
And it's interesting because in 23, the message that he delivers was so well received that they had literally a prolific offense for the first 2/3 of the season anyway. This offense was certainly the first half of the season. Like, we were comparing this offense to the 27 Yankees in a lot of different things that they were doing. And they faded some in 23, but it was obviously there. It was strong enough. It was ready to help them win the World Series. And that same messaging then became too obscure, too obtuse, too difficult to understand. I don't know what it is. I will say this. The messages that Donnie Ecker sends are not the messages that are not sent anyway, not the wording, not the approach that other hitting coaches use. And I was actually talking to David Murphy, not about Donnie Ecker, but just about hitting the other day. And he referenced Rudy Jaramillo. And he said, Rudy Jaramillo told me, and he told what he had told him was, when you're in a situation and your back's up against it and you got to run in from play pepper, right?
Yeah.
Well, the reality is every hitting coach in the world has said that to a guy in different ways, right?
Yeah.
Rudy delivered it really well over the years. He lasted a long time as the Rangers hitting coach. But the message was the same. Donnie's message, Jeff, was a little harder to grasp and understand.
Conceivably, yes. I mean, now what he and Tim Hires did in 23, Donnie was hired in 22, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, they add biomechanics to what they do. They look at a guy's swing and figure out the changes based on that. They find the holes in the swing. They do stuff like that. They're big believers in that and how to leverage just a body's natural movements. And the issue, though, it seems, is that the Ranger, the opponents have figured that out. I mean, how many pop-ups did the Rangers hit in the last 4 games?
Right.
How and some of that's being late. So changing speed, you're still late on the fastballs. That was something the Rangers were hoping to change this year, and I think it had been better, but not good enough. So it's just he is a different hitting coach. He's not an old school hitting coach. He's not Rudy Jaramillo, and
no.
But also at some point, you can teach them the mechanics of a swing and all that stuff, but are you teaching them approach? And I think at this level, very clearly they are, but something's not registering. Now the Rangers are constructed, they're aggressive. They're an aggressive hitting team. They like to swing the bat. Marcus Semien is not a leadoff hitter, prototypical. He likes to swing the bat. Corey Seager will swing at anything around the plate. No complaints with Corey Seager, obviously. Nope. Adolis Garcia, he's second in the second worst chase rate in baseball. Jonah Heim swings a lot. So you don't have patient hitters. These aren't the Yankees and Red Sox from the early 2000s. Right. They want to get on base by hitting the ball. Of course, all teams are better when they're not doing that. When you're mixing in some walks, you can look at the Rangers' 2 wins on this homestand. They scored 12 and 8 runs in those games, but they walked more. They had 4 walks yesterday. It's the 6-run third inning started with Blaine Krim taking a walk. So there's elements that have just flat been missing, but some of that is the personnel. And so are you able to change a hitter's approach over the course of a season. You can't do it in the off season because there's no live pitching. So how do you do that? And I think that's the element that's missing here is that, well, and then all of a sudden the Rangers can't hit a home run.
How about that?
That's a staggering
one
thing
in
too.
like 10 days.
So I think it just went straight in it was in the toilet, and then it just finally swirled down.
Yeah. Well, it's a really confounding situation when a guy that recently has been that successful with essentially these same guys, but the message had ceased to be received properly. And, I think you're right. I think Chris Young, and by the way, you are right. His first season was 22. He was hired in November of 21 when I said he's been the hitting coach since 21. I wasn't the 21 season. But, yeah, that was not a good season offensively or any other way. But anyway, the reality is that the message didn't change, right? But the reception of that message clearly did. And the other reality is we may find out that the new guy comes in and he can't necessarily connect with these guys, right?
Yeah.
You have to have it has to get done by the players.
Sure.
And I realize what Chris Young is trying to do is find somebody else who can help facilitate that getting it from here's our theory, here's our approach, here's our, concept, here's our playbook. Now you go do it, execute it, right?
Yeah, it's not. But again, pass the baton.
Yeah.
Make pitchers work, swing at your pitches. These are all things that all teams and all hitting coaches talk about.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
It's not like Donnie and Justin Veely and last year Tim Hires were saying completely different things. It's pretty standard stuff. It's okay to take a walk. Don't help the pitcher out. Don't put yourself in a bad count. Those kinds of things. Crazy that collectively this group has lost sight of that. And now again, and I've been saying this for a couple weeks, and maybe this is a defense of Donnie, or maybe it's not, but you kind of look around baseball, and a lot of hitters in baseball have their own hitting coaches. Okay, guys that they're sending video images to every day, paying out of their own pockets and paying pretty well, and Corey Seager has had his guy, Sean Wooten, for years, and it works, right?
Yep.
And Donnie Ecker and Wooten had a nice relationship. There's a change to Corey's stance this year. It's more open. Apparently that was a collaborative effort. Adolis Garcia is using a guy named Jeremy Eisenhower, who was Bobby Witt Jr. and Alex Boehm's hitting coach. Okay. That's new this year. Is that who are these guys listening to? Jock Peterson, it's documented, it's on the internet. His hitting coach is Marlon Byrd, the former Rangers guy. Marlon Byrd also works with Corbin Carroll with the Diamondbacks. Jock's been with Byrd for apparently 6 years. It's been a long-standing thing. Who is Jock Peterson listening to? He has the working relationship with Justin Veely from his time with the Giants, but it's like, who are you listening to? Game's on the line, you're up. Whose tips are you taking with you?
Right.
And so these are things that, again, it's an industry-wide thing. It's not just something specific to the Rangers. It's it's the duty of the hitting coach to have communication with these guys. But who does the player value the most? The guy he's paying, who's probably pumping him with what he wants to hear, or the guy who's in the dugout seeing every pitch, every swing in real time? I don't know. I think it's just a different time in baseball. It is, it is harder to hit. I get it. these players want to be as good as they possibly can be. So if they can hear another voice or get some other input, they're going to do it. But to a lot of the chatters, do they have too much information in their heads? And that might ultimately be what's going on here.
Yeah, that may be it. When they get up there, not only whose information are they taking, but can they process which one they want to use and how they want to use it and keep it consistent. There's a lot up there. There's a lot to discuss with this. Up next, though, we're going to talk about that other change the Rangers have made in center field, in a way, with Leody Taveras. We're going to talk about that. At the segment after that, we get to all these questions, and we try to ferret out what they'll do, where they'll go, how this is going to look when they start playing again tomorrow in Boston. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And it's time for us to talk to you about one of our favorite sponsors, and that's Game Time. Now, the Game Time app is great for any ticket you want to buy. But I'm telling you, you need to start looking at it for Stars tickets, because there is nothing like I was so energized by that Game 7 the other night. I wasn't there. I wished I had been. I was there for 99 and 2000 when the Stars won Game 7s against the Avalanche. Of course, in those 2 years, they were able to, that win propelled them to the Stanley Cup final. This was just a first-round win, but, man, it was equally as exciting. So cool, so historic. Go to Game Time. Get tickets to any of the Stars games against the Winnipeg Jets. That's their opponent in the second round. And you can also get tickets to Rangers. You can get tickets to almost any music venue in town. Game Time is such a great app. They can show you where the seat will be. They guarantee it for you. You've got $20 off your first purchase if you use the code DLLS at Game Time.
Yeah, and now we're going to talk to our friends about our friends at LinkedIn Jobs. And John, you and the missus, you own a small business. You have to hire help on occasion, and you probably don't have a lot of time to do it. I mean, you guys got a lot of balls in the air. So, if you're occupied with that and you need a little help when you're trying to hire, LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn will always be on. They don't close. There are people searching for jobs, and LinkedIn will help match any job that you post, share it on your network, and get qualified people to help you. LinkedIn's new feature can help you write job descriptions, quickly get your job in front of the right people. You get qualified candidates. At the end of the day, that's the biggest thing. You don't want some schlub who doesn't know what he's doing helping you put food on the table. And they've got an offer for you. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/Rangers. That's linkedin.com/Rangers.
So Leody Taveras learned after the game yesterday that he too would, at least for now, not be a part of the immediate future with the Texas Rangers, as they outright released him yesterday, Jeff, which means that any team can claim him, but if they do, they must take on the $3.25 million that Leody is still owed for this year.
Well, it's probably a little more than that, really, because he was due. He's making 4.8 this year. You figure they've played a month, so subtract a third or a sixth. So I can't do the math, but I'd say it's a little bit over
around
4.
4, yeah.
So anyway, an outright release. It's what they did with Dane Dunning at the end of spring training. It's a way to keep the guy in the organization, basically. You put him on release waivers. If he doesn't get claimed, then he has the option of rejecting the assignment to the minor leagues, but he would have to forfeit his salary. He could become a free agent, but you have to forfeit his salary. Leody's not going to do that. Dane Dunning didn't do that. It's too much money. So this is a way to keep Leody in the organization. Because he's not going to turn down $4 million because he won't be getting it from anybody else. So here we go. It's a move though that frees up a 40-man spot, and that's kind of the most curious thing about it, because now the Rangers have the opportunity to add a non-40-man outfielder, and I've been told that and Alejandro Osuna is definitely being considered to take that spot. He's at Double-A, where he's currently just on a tear. He was a fantastic player in spring training. Every coach fell in love with Alejandro Osuna. He's the Rangers' reigning minor league player of the year. Can play all three outfield spots, runs the bases hard, just does everything well. Not everything great, but he does everything well. So I think that he's in play, and of course, Evan Carter is the name that everybody wants to see called up. And I don't know. Honestly, I've been told he's in play also. It's crazy how things can change in 48 hours. On Friday, I was told that the plan was for Evan to play this week for Round Rock, play 5 times, okay, more than he's been playing, see how the back responds. He had an appointment with the back specialist today, just a checkup. He's been doing these things regularly, just making sure everything is okay. So I don't know who it's honestly going to be, because I was told Friday these things can change, and obviously they have. So if the Rangers felt good about the way that Evan came through last week, they put him in a situation where he had to pinch hit, because that's going to be something Evan's going to have to do, and he hit a home run. So he does draw walks. Everybody knows that. He has a new swing, which is designed to take pressure off the back. When he's played, he's been fine. He's been stealing bases, getting on base, doing stuff like that. So it's going to be one or the other. All right. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's Osuna. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Evan. And yeah, I know there's some chatter out there about, the Rangers, if they wait till what's today, the 5th. So if they wait until Wednesday, well, then they will then manipulate his Carter service time enough to get an extra year of arbitration eligibility. Chris Young doesn't do that.
No.
If he thinks Evan Carter can help the team right this second, he'll do it. I just firmly believe that. And kind of the feedback I've gotten from some people I've texted is very similar to that. They think that the idea that the Rangers are manipulating the service time is not accurate. Evan Carter is dealing with something that the Rangers haven't had to deal with before. They are trying to figure out how they can get this guy who did so much for them in 23 back to that form. But more importantly, make sure he stays healthy. Make sure he stays that player. I don't know if Evan Carter right now is an everyday player. Now, would he be an upgrade? Probably. He does a lot of the things that the Rangers aren't doing at the plate, like draw walks.
Yeah.
But
see a lot of pitches.
You also need a guy up there who can drive the ball. And if you're going to put him in center field, you need to be sure that he can do that. Let's say if you're playing 7 games in a week, hopefully 5 times. I still don't think he'll play against lefties, which is why the Rangers were doing the pinch hitting thing. But I just think that I will not be surprised either way with Evan, but I'm kind of leaning toward him staying at AAA for the week. Osuna, I think he's Rule 5 eligible after the year, so you get him on the roster now. Don't have to worry about it at the end of the season. He can come up for a week, and then when Carter's ready, you can have your choice. You can option Osuna maybe to AAA this time. Dustin Harris is still there, and Dustin Harris is playing a hell of a center field.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
He's playing really, really well. So the Rangers have options. The question then becomes, all right, so you're going to put Evan in there. What are you going to do with Dustin Harris? What are you going to do with Adolis Garcia? Now, Adolis had a couple hits yesterday, all right? I mean, the potential is there, but man, would you consider limiting his at-bats? Maybe you give him time with the new hitting coach. Say, you know what? I know we know you're paying somebody on the outside. It's not working.
Yeah.
Get with this guy for a few days. If it's somebody new. I mean, it could be Justin Veely, and then it's nothing really changes there, I guess, with Adolis. But if it's somebody from outside the organization, maybe Hensley Mullins. All right, that's a name that I threw out there. He was the hitting coach on Bochy's championship teams in San Francisco. He just got fired by the Rockies. I'm sure there are other qualified hitting coaches out there, but we're hopefully finding out today what's going to happen.
Yeah, we feel like there's going to be an announcement later today, and of course, watch the social medias for that, because Jeff will be all over it, as will I. And we'll certainly have anything on it for tomorrow's show as well. But hopefully, there will be some closure to that. What about yesterday's center fielder, Josh Smith? Right? And I suppose he'd also be he plays everywhere. So he'd be a candidate for that right field. I mean, if there's someone who needs to take over a little bit of time there, is there any wisdom, though, in not recalling Osuna yet, letting Evan, continue to grow and continue to figure out the back, and just you've got a pretty adequate replacement, if not better than adequate, and it's a guy you got to find a place in the lineup for.
Yeah, we did. Bruce Bochy was asked yesterday, are there any scenarios in which Josh Smith is the everyday center fielder? And Bruce Bochy said no. Smith's value is in giving guys days off. Playing third base to get Josh Young off his feet. Playing shortstop to get Corey Seager off his feet. Playing right field to get Adolis Garcia off his feet. So I think Josh Smith will play center field, yes. But I don't think he's going to be the everyday center fielder, just based on what Bruce Bochy said yesterday. Now, this was before everybody was fired. So I don't know, but I think that's the manager's thought. And, he is the manager. And I think that if he wants to use one player to manage the health and well-being of other players, then Bruce Bochy's going to win out on that one.
Yeah, no doubt. And so your thought, on Bochy's former hitting coach is probably a good one. There's also a possibility with Seth Connor there and Justin Veely there that they don't need to necessarily hire somebody to replace Donnie as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and Donnie was game planning. But he was kind of in charge of how they wanted the organization to hit, so that when these guys got up and got to the major leagues, they were ready to step in. You kind of look at some of the players they've drafted. Donnie Ecker didn't want hitters who were, tall and long and lanky, because they have too many holes in their swings. He wanted guys who were kind of more compact, and Dylan Dreiling, the second round pick last year, as an example, 5'11", 6 foot. Not a guy with these huge long arms who you can figure out, and no more Ronald Guzman and Joey Gallo's.
Right. So you like the Josh Smith prototype better than the Jonah Heim prototype?
Yeah, I guess so. And but that's just kind of, I don't know then if you're. You can't overnight change the way the whole organization approaches hitting. Do you leave Cody Atkinson, the minor league hitting coordinator, down there to make sure everything stays the same in the minor leagues? Do you stick with Justin Veely, who again came from the Giants, where he'd worked with Donnie Ecker, and Donnie was fired up about it because he's like, we speak the same language, we use the same terminology. Okay. That hasn't worked for a month.
Nope.
Now, is it truly different though? I don't know enough. I haven't talked enough to Justin Veely about it. So there are just a lot of uncertainties, a lot of unknowns. But the reason that makes me think that they might be going outside is you don't just decide in the seventh inning, let's fire the guy. Let's just do it today. You think about this. You have somebody in mind who you want to replace him. You can't conduct a coaching search. All the good ones are gone. It's a very limited pool of available hitting coaches, and you've probably been in contact with them and know if they want to take the job. So sure. I just think though because they didn't say, "Oh yeah, Justin Buehler's taking over," that maybe they have a couple guys on the line.
Something else in mind. And yeah, you certainly don't say that. Fire the guy in the seventh inning of an 8-1 victory when the Rangers finally had some offense going and had a really good inning when they scored 6 in the third yesterday. So anyway, we'll talk more about that in the next segment. We'll also get to a story about one of the hottest hitters in the Rangers system right now. Could he be a candidate to come back and help this team? It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Oh man, Sleeper. Everybody knows how I feel about Sleeper. It's pretty much my favorite thing. It can be tricky. Like yesterday, for instance. Don't tell Jacob deGrom this, but I thought he would give up more than 3.5 hits. Mariners were hot. He pitches around the strike zone a lot. And you know what? Through 3 innings, I looked pretty good, but then he didn't allow another hit. So that one didn't work out for me. But Sleeper, we're talking about daily picks here. They're known for fantasy, but they've gotten into the daily fantasy picks, and it's a hoot. And I can't recommend it enough. I watched a damn NHL game last night because I had some money on the line. What you do is so-and-so is Jacob Duran going to give up more or less than 3.5 hits? It's something like that. Is Corey Seager going to have more than 1.5 hits? It's that easy. And Sleeper wants your business, and if you use the code DLLS Rangers, they will match up to $100 on your first deposit.
And take that 100 and turn it into a lot more with the help of Monarch Money. Start managing your finances, and you can actually build the life that you want. Without a clear financial picture, like almost nothing is in focus. But Monarch Money is so good. In fact, they are the Wall Street Journal's 2025 financial marketer of the budgeter of the year. Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. They help you track your spending, your investments, your savings effortlessly, so you can focus on the matters that are more serious, and that's making your life goals a reality. Financial stress is one of the top reasons that relationships fall apart, so just make sure you manage your money the best possible way you can with Monarch Money. And control your finances. Use the code DLLS at Monarch Money, and you get half off your first year. That's Monarch Money for half off your first year with the code DLLS. So, Ezekial Duran, he is raking in the minor leagues, Jeff. Ezekial Duran has gone to the minors, and he has taken exactly the right approach. And we talk about this a lot. When you get demoted, obviously, it's a very disappointing thing. And when you get demoted, there is an opportunity for you to do one of two things. One, get there and completely embrace the new opportunity and show the Rangers or whoever the major league team is that they were wrong to demote you. Or two, go there and sulk and, be a jerk and maybe never get called back up, or they'll let you go or whatever. Zeke has done it just the right way, which isn't surprising. He's such a good guy. And what he has proven, Jeff, down there is that when Ezekial Duran has the opportunity to play every day, he's a different guy.
Right. And that's the problem with Ezekial Duran.
Yes, it is.
Where in the major leagues is he going to play every day? And there isn't a spot for that. Now, they could create one, sure. I mean, it would take, sitting Marcus Semien or Adolis Garcia, or an injury, which you don't want. So there's just nowhere for him to play every day. And that's the rub. He's a young hitter. When he has played regularly in the major leagues, he's done well. I mean, 2023, he picked up a lot of slack for Corey Seager. When Seager was hurt in April and May, he was fantastic. Ezekiel was. He's not going to get that opportunity up in the majors. So you need to leave him down for a while. He hasn't even had 50 at bats down there yet. Get him at least 150, let's say. Get it to where he can repeat it without regular playing time, and maybe you do what you're doing with Carter right now, eventually you get to the point where it's like, all right, you're not going to start, but you're going to come up in the 7th inning and pinch hit, and get him accustomed to getting prepared to do that in a game, figuring out how to keep his swing sharp when he's not going to be playing 6 days a week. I guess there are ways to do it, and it's something that guys have to learn how to do. It's like Travis Jankowski. You knew that Travis Jankowski, he knew he wasn't going to play every day. He really hadn't played every day in his career except once, but he knew how to stay ready. So that's the point where Duran needs to get if he's going to remain a utility guy for this team. Otherwise, you go get a veteran guy for $1.5 million in spring training, and non-roster deal, make him make the team, and then just sit and roll with him. So I don't know that he's an immediate answer, but it's positive. He's doing what the Rangers want him to do, and he's doing what you hope Jake Berger will do.
Right.
And Leody Taveras, if Leody gets through waivers, you hope that that happens. So good things from Ezekiel Duran, but I don't think he's a short-term solution.
No, and like you say, there's no place to put him. I mean, he does the same things that Josh Smith does. To Josh's credit, he has figured out a way to get himself into that everyday lineup, and it's right now there's an opportunity to use him, like we said, every day in center field. And Boat says no, he's too valuable doing it the way they've been doing it, which is to give guys rest and to put him where he's needed. And when somebody goes on a 10-day injured list stint, there's Josh Smith to pick up that slack. So that's the story about Ezekiel Duran. I see lots in the chat, Jeff, about the Michael Youngs of the world, the Ian Kinslers of the world, the Adrian Beltres of the world, the Mark DeRosas of the world. And look, here's my thought on all those names. None of them really want that job, of offensive coordinator. But I don't disagree with the thought process. And all you need to do is look at this weekend's opponent to realize how well that can work.
Yeah.
A year ago in August or so, like up until last August, when the Seattle Mariners had the worst offense, the best pitching, but the worst offense in the game, and they brought in Edgar Martinez. And Edgar Martinez, he's a hitting machine. He knows how to hit. He clearly knows how to tell guys how to hit. And since August, the Mariners have the best offense, one of the best offenses in the game. And we're talking against everybody, the Dodgers and the Mets and everybody, the Yankees, everybody else. But Edgar, he didn't want the hitting coach job either. He took a higher role, right? Because the day-to-day traveling with the team all the time is a grind. And all those names that you mentioned, they did it for their whole careers. And they've made enough money where they don't need to do that again. And so consequently, it's not that they wouldn't necessarily love to be around the game again. It's just that they wouldn't love some of the things that go with it. That is to say, the schedule.
Right. Yeah. No. That's these guys made a ton of money.
Yep.
All right. They've put in their time. They, in Michael and Ian's case, they have children, multiple children who are in their teenage years or getting very close. And Michael has moved from DFW to Newport Beach, tough life. Ian still lives here, but his son is a baseball player who plays in a tournament basically every weekend. His daughter is like an emerging track star who she's busy and she travels with track. And I don't see them as candidates, at least not full time. Could they come in like Edgar Martinez? Maybe if it was August, Right. Now you're still talking about a 5-month commitment here. And there are guys on staff. Some people have mentioned Skip Schumacher. I'm sure that Skip has some hitting pedigree in his background. I don't know that he's ever been a hitting coach. Nick Hundley, special assistant, big buddies with Chris Young. He's been on the TV broadcast, interestingly enough, last week. Maybe they're getting his face out there so that you can put the face with the name. I don't know. Dale Swaim was the hitting coach for the Royals in 2015 when the Royals won the World Series with Chris Young on the roster. I don't know where Dale is now, but maybe he's available. So there are tons of names you can throw out and see what sticks. But I'm not sure that we truly know until it's going to be announced. And maybe somebody, I have my phone right here. Maybe somebody sends me a text. Hopefully, I've definitely got some messages out. Maybe Ken Rosenthal's going to get it. I don't know. Somebody's going to. Maybe somebody gets it before it's announced. But the thought is that today there will be a conference call. I did just get a text. 2:30 there will be a conference call. So less than an hour. And we'll see where it goes from there. But obviously, like I said way back in the first segment, you don't make this move without a plan.
No,
you just don't. So I'm sure they have an idea. Maybe they were tying up some loose ends. Maybe somebody had to catch a flight to Boston. I don't know.
Sure,
but it needs to be no rarities. It will not be broadcast. This is a call for writers only. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. But to your point, no team would do it like you kind of, kiddingly suggested, like, let's fire the hitting coach and then figure out what we're going to do next, right? No team would do it, especially not a team that is led by Chris Young. I mean, that guy is completely, he is so focused, Jeff, and so driven. And I have to admit, I don't like that this happened for Donnie Ecker. I don't like what happened over the weekend to Jake Berger. I don't like what happened yesterday to Leody Taveras. These are guys we like, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I love that Chris Young did it. These are hard decisions that have to be made. Nobody wants to be in a position to have to make those decisions because they're so hard. But Chris Young made them. He made the tough calls. And, now hopefully it works. I mean, it's still got to work. But just making those tough decisions rather than sticking with the status quo is huge. And Chris Young is a guy who clearly, is not afraid to make that tough decision.
Yeah, Chris talked to us Friday about the Berger/Krim move, and we asked some questions, and he said this isn't about last year. This is about what's best right now for the Texas Rangers. But there's no way that last year didn't play into this. I mean, it's a continuation. And last year, as you pointed out now, a month ago, everybody was saying last year, oh, yeah, this offense is going to turn around. There's no question about it. And it didn't. And, once these with all these low-scoring games, probably that second series, the Red Series, 1-0, everyone was like, oh, well, this offense is going to hit. This is going to turn around.
Sure.
And guess what? It hasn't. So, Chris Young's not one to sit idly by and let this occur. What's the insanity quote? Allowing these things to
the true definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over and expect different results.
Yeah. So I think at this point, that's kind of where he was on that, and that's fine. He is the president of baseball operations of the Texas Rangers. It's his job to win baseball games. He's getting paid to do that. He has a boss. He has, Ray Davis, the owner of the team, is his boss. And as you'll recall, Ray Davis just in August of 22 decided to up and fire John Daniels. There is accountability at the very, very top of the organization. Even though you never hear from the guy, there is accountability there. So, hey, maybe Ray went up to Chris one day and said, all right, I've had enough of this.
Make a move.
Let's
do
go.
something. Yeah. And he did a lot this weekend. Now it's time to figure out if it will work. We think it will. We hope it will. We'll know a lot more, though, in 45 minutes when we hear what the plan is for next for the Rangers. So Coming up next, though, in this program, we've got to get to our cleanup segment. A big news about a game the Rangers will play in Boston that we've got for you to lead it off next. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And it's time once again to implore you to avail yourself to the merchandise. The Hello Win column is appropriate today. They won yesterday, by God. And so this one feels good today. And maybe, just maybe, they can get on a streak. Sometimes these types of things like this massive change really wakes a team up. And if this is the wake-up call they needed, well, good. And if it's not, we'll have to find another way to wake them up. Either way, they should be wearing these shirts too, and hopefully they'll avail themselves to some of the merchandise that's stored at ALLCITYNetwork.com. Really good stuff. There's more than just shirts there. You should go there and check out all of the merchandise we have so you can rep. We want you to represent us. And we've got, like we say, these baseball-specific things that let everybody know you're a Rangers fan. So store.allcitynetwork.com to get your merchandise from All City today.
That's correct. And I'm wearing the Cowboys version of the DLLS
flag. I like that one.
Yeah. I like a big navy. I like a navy blue shirt.
Yeah,
so
I might need to get
anyway, you can get this one or Hello Win column or any of the others for free when you become a DLLS diehard, which you can do at alldls.com/join. If you missed our NFL draft special, I'm sorry. We're back to the full price, which is still a bargain at $79.99. You get the free shirt every year. Every year a diehard, you get the free shirt. You get 20% off, and you get to read not just my Ranger stories, Cowboys, Mavs, Stars, whatever else we're going to cover that we're going to paywall, you get access to. So we implore you, if you haven't done it already, whether at full price or half price or whatever, become a diehard today.
So Thursday's getaway day game in Boston will be simulcast with MLB Network.
Oh,
so you can see it on the Rangers Sports Network, Jeff.
Okay.
But also you can see it on the MLB Network. And
see.
Far be it from me to ever encourage you to not watch Rangers Sports Network. But MLB Network's got a pretty cool thing going.
Oh.
They're miking up a player for the entire game.
Oh.
With a 10-second delay. And they say that is only to make sure that the sensitive ears are not offended by some of the things that might be said on the field. And so you wonder who it is that they're miking up. And maybe if the Rangers were playing a little better, it'd be one of their players. But it's Jarren Duran, the All-Star Game MVP, and the guy who had so much came out about this young man during the Hard Knocks stuff. So, or whatever they call that.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, I look forward to that. I may actually swim by there and just see. I've always been fascinated. We used to ask Nathaniel Lowe all the time because he was so gabby at first base.
Yeah.
And he could never really tell you what he says. And I know we get that because each guy, you know them from a different life, from a different world. So you just have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
So you don't really remember. I don't know. I just had a conversation with him. But every single player that came by, Lowe would say stuff to him, and they'd end up cracking up and stuff. And we're like, what the hell are you saying? You know? And anyway, I'm always fascinated by that. I'll love to hear what all goes on out there, and it'll be interesting to see how much of it they use.
Yeah, Jarren Duran has had some verbal slips in the past that got him in trouble. So
sure,
it's an interesting candidate.
Yeah,
but like if a ball gets hit over his head and he, shit, I got to turn around and go get that. You don't want to hear those. I mean, I do, but the young kids, the youth of America watching, you don't want them to hear that. So, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'll probably watch Rangers Sports Network though.
Yeah, it'll make it an interesting watch. So, history made in the beautiful confines of Camden Yards yesterday.
Oh, what happened?
The Orioles and the Royals had a game in which 11 home runs were hit. That's not the historic part. The part that ties a record historically is that 10 of those, Jeff, 10 of those home runs were solo shots.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine? 11 home runs, 10 solo shots, and 7 of the home runs, by the way, were hit by the Kansas City Royals, just 4 by the Orioles. But on those humid days with a little breeze, and, you can get that ball out of Camden Yards.
Yeah, in the summertime, the ball flies there. And I know they haven't had a lot of home runs the last couple years because they made the fence taller and they moved it back. Well, now they've moved it in again.
Yeah.
Shortened the fence. So they can't figure out what they want to do. But the Royals have struggled offensively too. And, they hadn't hit, I can't remember what, 7 home runs in a week. And then all of a sudden they hit 7
in a game.
Yeah. So that tells you, but also the solo homers is an indication that baseball's hard and guys aren't getting on base across the league. You look at the Orioles, young guys, Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson and Jackson Holliday, they're all hitting around 200.
Yeah.
So it's not just a Rangers thing. However, and the Orioles are bad. They're not very good.
They're in last place in the East.
They've got some pitching problems. Kyle Gibson's in the rotation. Big fan of Kyle, but Kyle Gibson's in the rotation. So they have issues. But that is kind of interesting.
And I did see that. I'm pretty sure I saw that Holliday had his first 2-homer game the other day over the course of the weekend. More history. Riley Green,
yeah, I saw that.
Had 2 home runs in the 9th inning of a game in Anaheim against the Angels the other day. First time in Major League history that anybody's hit 2 home runs in the 9th inning. And really, I mean, that's probably not that surprising, Jeff. I mean, how often do you bat 2 times in the 9th inning?
Right. And but you figure all these games in play, that's something that would have happened. Now, of course, nobody will ever top Fernando Tatis Sr. hitting the 2 grand slams in the same inning. Was not the 9th, obviously, but that's the benchmark for
that really is
for same inning home runs.
That really is.
Good luck trying to break that one. But I think was that the game where Neto and Skubal got into it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, okay. I think Skubal ended up. I know that Neto hit the home run, but ultimately Tarek had a really nice game. That was the only run that the Angels scored.
He did, and the after Boston on Thursday after that getaway game, the Tigers or the Rangers go to play the Tigers in Detroit, and this is a team that's really good. And by the way, their last stop on their 10-game road trip, of which there aren't many anymore.
Yeah.
But the last stop on this 10-game road trip for the Tigers is in Colorado.
Oh,
so they may be coming in hot, as you say, and they're still off to that historic start. I think they're 13-3 or something like that at home. And by the way, I don't remember this ever happening to the Rangers, but I saw a note where the Tigers played, in 4 consecutive series, if you will, in 4 time zones. So they played their last series at home, which is the Eastern time zone, last Sunday.
Yeah.
And then they were in Houston, Central time zone. And then they were in Anaheim, Pacific time zone.
Now they're going to
and
Mountain.
now they'll stop to Mountain time zone.
That's interesting.
Pretty wild.
That is.
I don't know.
Wild.
I did back in the day. I did almost all the 10-game road trips for the Rangers when we were traveling, and I don't ever remember being in 4 time zones in
I'd have to go back and look. That's
I wonder if that's happened to me. But anyway, so Riley Green makes history. How about this Chandler Simpson, Jeff?
Speed demon.
Unbelievable. Scored from second on an infield hit the other day.
Yeah, that's just knowing your personnel and anticipating what is going to unfold with the play. And but man, this guy's kind of fun to watch.
He's super fun to watch. They said in college he actually on more than one occasion he actually scored from second on sac flies.
Yeah. I saw.
So
I watched one of those.
Did you?
Yeah, there was video of it, and
he tags up at second, and they can't get him at home. And the other players, I mean, again, everybody's like, wow, this guy's really fast. The other players are all fast too. That's the first, sort of benchmark for making it in the major leagues is to be a fast person. And they're all like, this guy is so fast. He's at max speed with his first step, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's at max speed with their first step, but they feel like he is. And a really good, elite, what is that per second? Feet per second thing is 30.
Yeah.
That's elite. He was at 31.1 feet per second when he scored from second base on the infield hit the other day.
Yeah. So you talk about the fastest guys in the game, and obviously he's at the top of the list. Miles Straw, Byron Buxton for a long time had been. I don't know how he's doing with the health. I'm sure he's still pretty fast. Evan Carter's a fast guy. Bobby Wood Jr. is a fast guy.
What's the kid in Cincinnati?
Ellie De La Cruz,
then
Billy Hamilton was that guy for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's a small group. Terrence Gore, right, with the Royals, that's all he did was pinch run.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's pretty fun to see the Simpson guy, and the Rangers play at Tampa in early June, the first weekend of June. So.
Okay.
Or not the weekend. The weekend they're in Washington. So like June 2nd through 4th, let's say, somewhere in there.
Yeah, and they play in Tampa.
Yeah, in
too
Tampa,
this time. Yeah, this isn't.
They've already been here.
Not in St. Pete. They play in actual Tampa and play in that Yankee spring training stadium. So it'll be a fun one to watch, no doubt. Joey Gallo's pitching. I don't know how well. Let's take a look. See what old Joey's been trying here. We knew he had a really good arm. We felt like he could have been a pitcher coming out of high school, Jeff, and he opted to be a hitter and a third baseman. But he's got a good arm, and we know he's going to have some velo.
Yeah, he was a pitcher in high school. He famously threw a no-hitter on his day of the senior prom, and then took Greg Maddox's daughter to the prom.
Yeah.
So. That's pretty cool. I've always liked Joey. I hope for the best. I think he's facing a very, very tall task here. You got to get a team interested in the first place. You're going to have to go to extended spring training, and they put their hands on you. Then you're going to end up on the buses again in low A. It's going to be a road. It's not like he's just suddenly going to,
someone's just going to
declare that he's a pitcher, and then we're like, oh my God, let's get him in our bullpen right away. It's going to be a long process. There are a lot of guys who have tried it, and DJ Peters, if people remember, from those miserable Ranger seasons in 21, he tried it with the Rangers. I don't know what he's doing now. Anthony Gose, who was also in the Rangers system for a while, former Guardian. Tigers, right?
Yeah.
Now he's with the Guardians. He's been in the major leagues. Left-hander, throws 100. So I'm not saying it can't be done, but it's not going to be an overnight thing.
Oh, we'll root for Joey, and we'll be anxious to see what the Rangers announce today at 2:30. Chris Young will have a conference call with the writers. He's not just calling to say, how you guys doing?
No.
There's something to be announced here, and it's likely that it is at that time that the plan will be revealed. The plan included relieving Donnie Ecker of his duties yesterday, and the plan now includes what the Rangers will do going forward for, basically, Jeff, I don't know if resurrecting is the right word, but making this offense work. This offense ain't working.
It's not. It's not working, and so might as well try to make it work.
Right. Well, we always say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Well, it's broke, right?
Yeah.
So it needs to be fixed. And so Chris Young is in a position where, again, as a huge, not only as Jeff mentioned, he's getting paid to do this job and all, he's also a Rangers fan. And it hurts his heart, too, when the Rangers are underperforming offensively, like it hurts yours.
Right.
He grew up a Rangers fan. And he takes that responsibility very seriously. So it's broke, and he intends to fix it. He will do whatever it takes to fix it, clearly. And so the next step in his mind is to hire another, whether it's an offensive coordinator, whether it's another hitting coach, whether it's an offensive consultant, a la an Edgar Martinez, whatever it is. Chris Young has a plan, and I must admit, despite the fact that this hasn't been working, I pretty much believe in Chris Young's plans.
You should. He's got that whole World Series thing in his back pocket.
Yeah.
So to answer your questions, I will be reporting on it on the Twitter and then at alldls.com. And to answer the Jake Berger thing, he has not played in the minors. He has 72 hours to report. They are on the road. I would imagine that Jake will be in the lineup tomorrow.
Very good. I think we've touched all the bases, and anxious to see what comes next for the Rangers. Remember, they're off tonight. Series starts in Boston tomorrow. Early start times, they're 5:30 games from Boston tomorrow and Wednesday, and just after noon on Thursday. We will be here again tomorrow at 1 o'clock for another edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast.